Jason Hook. Wow, this is it. This is your first time here on the Road to Rock. I can't believe it's the case, but it is. Jason Hook, guitarist extraordinaire, Five Finger Death Punch, Mandy Moore, now Flat Black. Have you been introduced that way before? I guess that's a new one.
Yeah, but I usually tell everybody that'll be the last time.
Right. Well, man,
one.
I'm so pumped about Flat Black. So we still got about 3 weeks, a little more before the official release is going to be up here. But guys, I mean, you want to talk about some just absolute in your face, ruthless, aggressive hard rock heavy metal. The new album is Dark Side of the Brain. It drops digitally July 19th. Man, look at let's just start here. The imagery is fantastic. I love the orange and the black. Like, who kind of came up with this whole design?
Well, I did.
Good job.
Thank you. I'll start by saying I'm a graphic hack. I know just enough. Woo. I know just enough of the Adobe suite to piss myself off. And but I I went through all the regular avenues to get artwork and the label and outside graphic artists and stuff, and I was just getting a bunch of sort of like generic stuff that I wasn't connecting with it, and I thought I may not be the best artist, but I actually started taking Photoshop lessons from a private tutor.
Wow.
And so all of the imagery stuff that's coming down the pipeline is coming from me. And I expect to be a lot better by this time next year. But the truth is, I have a certain desire for how things should look. And I always really like that sort of fire color gradient, which I see you're using on your your image here on the podcast.
That's true.
So that's the exact sort of thing I was always attracted to, is that sort of like, it's sort of primitive. And I think that the human brain sort of responds to things that are built in from, hundreds of years ago, like fire. There's something about fire that just, stimulates the brain in a certain way, yada, yada, yada. I really like the color scheme. I saw, I just see it more and more these days. And so I decided to sort of focus on that being sort of our color,
Well, it's tremendous. And I'm a very, very visual person. I always have been. And I think that maybe in music, have gotten away from that somewhat over the last 10 years or so with so much digital content. But I've always connected to what I see. And that probably dates back to going through my grandparents' basement when I was a kid and finding my uncle's Kiss records. And I'm just like, I don't know what the hell this is, but just this forever. Well, right?
I don't know if you're aware, but I am a massive Kiss fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well,
okay. I think that, well, I mean, it's not like other bands haven't tried to sort of steal ideas from them and replicate things, but when you're on stage and fire goes off, there's like, it's just striking, right? So, Kiss there's definitely some Kiss in my DNA.
I'm actually a huge 80s Kiss non-makeup fan as well. I'm going to go see Chris Jericho's cover band, 80s Kiss cover band Quarantine coming up. I'm that big of a fan. I just can't help it. I love Animalize. I love Asylum. I love, well, definitely Revenge, but that's a given. But I mean,
Revenge was a sick record, no question. And I think every album that they released during the 80s has viable songs on there. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's all.
Songs that were big enough to keep them in the game. I know that they went through a dip and they had to sort of fight their way back, but every album had 2 or 3 of those important songs. And, they're hard workers. That's it. That's why I'm drawn to them, is because they never give up, just plow forward.
Well, there's clearly a lot of hard work gone into what you guys are doing here. Flat Black, I mean, the reception around the heavy metal community around on the internet is the buzz has been palpable. The singles have been hitting like thunder. I think Halo honestly has a chance to be like a classic, like a flag bearing kind of song for this band. That's just me. That's my favorite one, on the album. So right now. So talk about that song, the song Halo, because I think that there's a lot of aggression in this album, but something about Halo, oh, it's like a nice tie-in. It's also very melodic, and it's maybe not as just completely in your face and destructive as the rest.
Well, well, thanks for that. I'm glad you like that song. I really like that song too. Flat Black is all about creating a balance. Like I love really aggressive music and the energy that comes from that, but I'm also a fan of good melody.
Yeah.
So it's really just trying to always work out that blend. And it's impossible to satisfy everyone's palate. So you might as well just let go of that right out of the gate. And what I tried to do is I wanted to make songs that I like. This is kind of like, I have the freedom now. It's just like if I like it, it gets used. If I don't like it, we don't use it. Like it was really important for me to satisfy my own heart. Um, and so there is that variety. I like really aggressive stuff, but I don't think you can. I think the balance has to be there. If it's just too brutal, then you're shutting off, you know, people that like not that.
Well, I'm seeing your career kind of come full circle here, Jason, and you've done so much, and you've been such a prolific writer and player, and such an influential player. Now we can say that you've been around long enough to be influential. That's not bad.
It's really funny 'cause I don't feel like that. It's really
Hmm.
weird. You know what? I know that I'm heavily influenced by my favorite guitar players, but when people say that to me, it's funny because when you're the guy that is influencing other people, I don't feel like I am.
Well,
So
do you? I understand that makes sense, but I mean, do you feel like for yourself, because you were kind of the poster child for the documentary Hired Gun that came out a few years ago, and I kind of made the joke about Mandy Moore at the beginning playing with her, but you were kind of a renaissance man in that way, and that now it's the norm. These pop artists, they want dynamic hard rock guitarists to come in and
right.
play. They could play anything. You know, Nita
Well,
Strauss playing with Demi Lovato. It's been happening ever since then. So do you feel though now that after all the years in a major band that toured arenas and was on top, Five Finger Death Punch, coming from that now with this project it's like uniquely yours, that like you've almost come full circle in a way?
um, yeah. I mean, look, there was two sort of isolated phases of my life. Um, when I was doing the hired gun stuff, I had basically just run out of gas trying to create my own bands. I tried with my own bands for decades
Hmm.
and would get so close and then something would screw it up or they want to sign it but somebody left the label or and I spent a lot of years in Los Angeles trying to make that happen and eventually just your soul can only take so many hits, right? So at some point somebody said, "Hey, you should go play guitar for someone else, and there's auditions or something." So I said, "You know what? I'll try. Fuck it. I need to get out of the house. I need to do something where it's not me trying to build something, but I just go out and work." And I really enjoyed all that stuff. I think that no matter what you choose to do in life, you should try to do it to the best of your ability, regardless of what everyone thinks is cool or not cool, or that's not really you. And I don't subscribe to that. I'm just like whatever I choose to do, just do it better than everyone else. That's it. So I went in with this attitude like I'm going to crush this. Whatever you want me to do, I'm going to crush it. I had a really good time.
Yeah, and you paved the way for so many acts, and Five Finger was so massive and just like a groundswell. And this, I think it's all, do you feel in a way that kind of your writing, your style, your playing, and the way that the musical arrangements for Flat Black it's almost kind of like a natural progression from Five Finger to kind of just where you are now as an artist?
Yeah. I mean, I had a pretty heavy hand in those records. Uh,
Very.
I was the one that would feel the stress and the pressure of, that thing was moving at Mach 10 at all times. So, we would come off tour and they'd be like, "You're going to start a record in 3 weeks," and I'd be like, "Fuck." So I would just, out of panic, I would just sit up here and just prepare. So, it was a group effort. I'm not trying to take any credit away from anyone else, but I took those records dead serious. and I put a lot of work into those records. So if you're hearing anything that sounds familiar, that's why, you know. And the only difference is that when I do something now, I don't have to run it by a committee for approval, you know. Um,
Yeah.
which was that I found that frustrating, you know.
As one would,
Yeah,
certainly, and that's, why it's great to see. I love when artists that I like, that I follow, that influence me, that when they are able to find their own path and whatever that is. And for you, one thing you wouldn't have to run by, I don't think anyone, is the addition of vocalist Wes Horton, and just talk about him, how important he's been to this album, because I think that without that dynamic vocalist, without someone that can kind of cover a lot of ground, that can hit you in the head when you need it, when something that's aggressive and in your face, and that can also bring it into a melodic. You can kind of go both ways. How important is Wes, and how did you find him? How did you guys connect?
well, Wes really is critical to the success we're seeing. You know, like I've tried many guys, and I'm super picky, and I wanted somebody that was a standout guy. And I got very lucky when I found Wes. He wasn't available initially because he was in Falling in Reverse. And then as soon as I learned that he was not in that band, I called him right back. I said, "What do you think? What do you think? You want to do it?" You know? And we've become really good friends. I talk to him almost every day. He's just a really positive, hardworking, motivated guy, and it's just such a breath of fresh air. You know, he's up for anything. Well, I have an idea. Yeah, I'll come over. Let's do it. You know, he's just a really great dude. And what can I say? He's got a fucking vocal toolkit that's sort of rare.
Extremely, and I think that is, along with the entire arrangement, it's such a huge pivotal part. For you, do you feel like, because I don't know, want to say like pigeonholed would be the word here, like that you were like pigeonholed as a certain type of guitarist, but just kind of from that LA scene, playing with Alice Cooper, playing with Bullet Boys, you know, bands that are more just straight, you know, kind of more melodic hard rock. Do you feel like the aggressive style, like, was that always kind of in you, or did that have to slowly come out? I mean, and is it more almost gratifying in a way, because that stuff, I mean, it's a crowd response. You saw what Five Finger, what those concert settings looked like, and just the swell of energy that
Yeah.
style creates. Is that something that just kind of slowly came out of you, or was it always there?
No, I mean, no, I'm sort of hyper by nature. I can't sit still, you know, and if I'm standing up in a room with my guitar and my amp blasting, I instantly want to go hyper speed. You know, I'm not a shoegazer. I don't like to do, you know, I'm not in the mid tempo realm. Um, and it's always, you know, if anyone who could trace my history back through some of my original stuff, like I have a solo album, and then there was another band that I had back in the '90s. I mean, I like if you're a guitar player, you want to go for the bands that are aggressive guitarists, you know, like I love all the incarnations of Ozzy Osbourne, certainly Van Halen, and you know, it's just kind of what I like. Pantera, you know, that's, as a guitar player, that's the kind of shit that turned me on. And so that's kind of where I want to be, you know. I think if you're going to stand on stage in front of a stadium, you want to come with some energy. It's really all about transferring that energy. And if you just got a bunch of sort of mid-tempo, not that exciting songs, you feel it up there. You're looking at people going, they're not reacting to this. This ain't working. And I've tested that for many years. And so even with Death Punch, I would always sort of like, if I'm starting to write for Death Punch, I would keep the tempos between 160 and 200, try to get stuff up in that zone because it's just more exciting.
That's a great answer there, because you know, coming from a non-musician, this is just my observation. So to see that kind of is reciprocated by a
Yeah.
player, it really is good to hear that. And you know, for you guys, you know, you've released several singles. I mean, that's what I think's the impactful, you know, nature of this, is that you've released songs like "It's Your Lack of Respect," "Justice Will Be Done." We talked about Halo, and then "Nothing to Some," Corey Taylor singing with you there. Talk about just like a guy that's perfect kind of to sing along, you know, with Wes, someone that has that style. Like, what was, you know, Corey coming in? How important is that for, you know, an album
Well,
like this getting a launch?
critical.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I mean, look, the guy definitely did me a solid. I didn't know Corey very well,
Hmm.
but we connected in early 2020, and he's just such a gracious dude. He was like, "Look, whatever you," I told him I'm trying to start a new thing. I don't have a singer. I'm just working on music at the moment, and I didn't know him very well, but his response was like, "Well, if you need my help, I'm happy to help. Send me whatever you got." Like who does that? Who at that
That's
level,
awesome.
right? And it turns out he lives like 5 minutes down the street from me. So I think he really, on many levels, and I've said this 100 times, and I'm sure he's sick of hearing me or reading that I said something, but just as a human being, he really helped bolster my spirit at that time. At that time, I didn't know what was going to happen. I felt lost. I had just abandoned this thing, and it was on an emotional level. Him sort of engaging with me on that level really helped me.
It does, and like honestly speaking, I found my biggest I don't know, I don't want to say respect because I always respected Corey as a singer. I mean, Slipknot, Stone Sour, his solo project's tremendous. But
Yeah.
when I heard him he did like a Hollywood, like an ultimate jam night with like Mike Anthony, did a bunch of Van Halen songs, and I was like, God, like yes, like that's. I was so impressed by that for some reason. Like I've heard him do all the other stuff, but that was great.
Make no mistake, that guy is the real deal.
Yeah.
Like, he is one of the most talented people I've ever worked with, period. And what I'm so envious because he just shits out stuff, and it's like, I wouldn't change a thing. It's amazing. And it's just a testament to how good he is, and we did 5 songs together. So there's still 4 sitting
Oh,
around. We did 5 songs together, but basically, I mean, he was just gracious enough to just send me whatever you got. So I'll always be grateful and thankful to him for that.
so Jason, are you in the Vegas area now? Is that where you
Yeah,
reside?
yeah,
It's either Vegas or Nashville these days, right? So
yeah.
what
Well, Vegas is close to. I mean, I spent some time in Nashville. Vegas is just fine for me. I mean, there's a lot of activity in Vegas now.
yeah.
You can go see. I mean, the bands come. Every band will come through here. There's the Allegiant Stadium. We see Metallica or Guns N' Roses or whatever. There's plenty of action here, and it's close to LA, which I want it to be for meetings and stuff like that. So I actually really like it here. It's
Oh, I
cheap.
love it. I could live there. My cousin moved out there about 5 years ago, and I'm like, God, like, it's there's no earthquakes, there's no tornadoes, there's no
Right.
hurricanes,
No state tax.
no God, you won me, you got me right there.
Right.
I'm in. So yeah, like, and so many bands, and then like there's venue. You talked about Allegiant Stadium, but all the all the residencies, the big shows around
Yeah.
Planet Hollywood and all those. But then you got Counts Vamped, which is one of my favorite venues in the country to go see a show at. So have you played at Counts
It's
Vamped?
sort of uh have I? I don't think I have actually. Not that I wouldn't. I just haven't had the
Hmm.
link up. I mean, by the time Counts Vamped was a thing, I was in Death Punch and
Little big for that.
well, but I would certainly play there. I know Danny, he's a super cool cat and that's sort of the only game in town as far as the happening rock bar.
Right. And it's like
Um
off the strip and stuff. It's just cool.
I'll tell you what's amazing is that Sphere thing.
Oh God.
I mean,
Yes.
I would everyone should go there at least once and check it out because it's the only thing like it.
Did you go to one of the U2 shows, or have you like seen something in it, or just
No,
toured it?
I went to U2, I went to the Grateful Dead. I mean, I'm
Oh
not a
wow.
Deadhead, I'm not a Grateful Dead fan, but, I was invited by Live Nation
Wow.
to go, and John Mayer was playing guitar. I didn't even know John Mayer was in the band, so that was a
I
sort of a highlight to listen to him play all night.
wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But
Yeah, no.
it's all about those visuals. The visuals are insane.
Yeah, they're gonna have a UFC there, and like I can't imagine what that would be like. And I'm just, thinking like, God, what like a Metallica residency or something would be
Oh,
like
yeah.
there, and so much
All kinds of cool ideas
a
coming in.
Kiss reunion tour. I don't know. I'm Jason. I'm throwing
Well,
it out there.
I thought it's a no-brainer if Kiss is done, they're not gonna play with
Right.
makeup again, but if they're moving into the realm of avatars and,
Ooh.
holograms and stuff, that's the perfect place for it. Just
That
saying.
would be freaking awesome, and I'm in right now, like, I'm there. That
Oh,
is
yeah.
that is a very good. So we gotta talk about the tour, because, I mean, you guys have some headlining dates coming up here this summer, which is awesome. You can go to, flatblackmusic.com and check out all the dates, which then are going to blend into a tour with Godsmack in the coming up in the late summer and in the fall. So just kind of talk about the importance of these headlining dates you have coming up, which will coincide with the release of the new album, and then on tour with Godsmack, who always delivers. I love Godsmack, and that
Yeah.
should be a great pairing.
Yeah, they are fantastic. Well, I think both headline dates and opening dates are important for different reasons. I think when we play with a major headliner like Godsmack, we're playing in front of their fans. So 15,000 people go, who is Flatline? What is this? And so we have an opportunity to um, scale up our audience, because we're playing for people that don't know about us, and they see us and they go, wow, and then we meet them after and they're like, my new favorite band, I would come and see this again. So you can expand your business quickly. And then when you go to the headline shows, well, we're going to be sort of playing the album in its entirety plus some custom moments, so that's something you won't get when we're playing 30 minutes in front of Godsmack.
That's awesome. And that's great. And so, like, how hard is it to kind of create a set list right now when you're trying to
Hard.
just get going? Obviously, the album in its entirety that'll be a given, but
Well,
then
I think it's because the album's not really out yet. So
right,
you got to
exactly.
be aware of not killing the audience with 90 minutes of brand new material. So I think what you do is you pick, we're going to probably rotate songs from the record in and out and find out which ones are going over better than others, and then maybe play a cover song or an old song, or you know what I mean, like, just to make sure the there's no dead spots in the show.
There couldn't be dead spots, just based. This album is so ferocious and so heavy. There, no matter what, I think that'll be there. The audience will be there for that. It's going to be great. So I got to ask you, because I'm such an Alice Cooper fan. You played with Alice, I think, on the 2007 tour that I saw. It was actually the hottest day, maybe not of the year, but of all time here in Missouri at the Missouri State Fair.
Mhm.
Well, I think Blue Oyster Cult opened that show. You were on that tour. What was that like? I mean, because I think at the time was Eric still in the band, Eric Singer still there, Carrie
I
Kelly,
remember this show,
and
by
Chuck
the way.
Garrick. You
Yeah.
were, so yeah, that was the band. There wasn't three. There was only two guitarists, you and Carrie Kelly,
Right.
Chuck Garrick and Eric Singer. So
Okay.
yes,
Yep.
that tour was tremendous. That was like one of Alice's like craziest set lists. I think you guys opened with like "It's Hot Tonight," which is insane, right? And like, so what was just like? Did you take from that? I mean, and playing with, I love Eric Singer. I loved him and Alice, even more so, even really than Kiss. And then obviously the tandem of you and Carrie Kelly, which we never saw that again. Carrie kind of was in and out. And then I think Damon Johnson came back, and just a lot. It's always changing in the Alice camp, but had to be a great experience, if nothing else.
Well, like I said, every time I change a situation, I'm like, what can I learn from this? I'm always trying to, like, what's the lesson here? What's the takeaway? And I learned a lot in that band. Certainly from Alice, as a human being, the way he conducts himself in life was a lesson. I mean, this is like a massive, iconic, famous guy, but he never behaved that way. He would go to the mall on a day off and shop, and people run over, they sign everything, take pictures, not just chill, like, cool. And I just remember thinking, that's a good role model. Like, he's super. With all the success that he had, and as famous as he is, he could be a very different guy.
That's
But he's
true.
not. He's completely normal and completely cool. And also, too, the importance of the visual component of the show. Like, that's one of the most visual shows out there. And just watching, people will come year after year after year because he puts on a really good show. And being a Kiss fan, that I realize that's really important. I mean,
See?
Flat Black doesn't have the budget for it at the moment, but it's coming.
Yeah, we'll find some ways to kill you on stage, maybe.
Right.
No, that show definitely stands out. And I remember being a huge fan of you being in the band. And I was always like really cognizant of like who's in Alice's band at the time. Like, wait, like, so who? Ryan Roxy's not okay. So now who? Like, so I was always like dialed in on that. And like people always say, I've interviewed countless alumnuses from Alice's band that always say like with another thing that they took is that the way he transitioned into his character.
Sure.
And that it's like, that is so like vaudevillian. It's so old school. It's so like in the moment that is kind of a lost art form. And that Alice is such a different person. And then he just like goes in to Alice.
He is very much transforms into that. And you know what's interesting about his show is that there's no talking.
Right.
In between songs, he doesn't go, thank you. This next song is off mine. Welcome to the Nightmare. There's none of that.
Yeah, because Alice expects everybody to know those songs, and Alice doesn't care that even that the audience is there. They should be there.
There's no gaps.
Right.
One thing that was kind of difficult about that show is it was a 2.5-hour show, and once it starts, it doesn't stop. There's there's music or segues or sound effects. The whole thing just runs straight through.
And even in the deaths, you guys are usually playing an ensemble piece or I Love the Dead or something to go along
100%.
with it.
A lot of memory work. A lot of memory work. I mean, when I was in that band, the show had this sort of drum solo where the two guitar players and Eric would get up on the drum riser and we're playing a drum solo, the three of us. And so I had to learn a drum solo.
On top of the rest of it.
No kidding. Yeah.
Oh, Jason, I tell you what, it's just been a huge pleasure, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. Before we let you go, I've got to hit you with my final 4 drum roll. It's 4 quick questions. We'll have some fun with it. You give us whatever comes to mind. Question 1, I know you're from Toronto.
Yeah.
And by the time this airs, this will not even be timely anymore. This is going to air at the end of the week. The game will already be played, but
yeah.
Edmonton Oilers or what tonight? Are we going?
Period.
So you're just going with it because the Leafs haven't won one since there was like 5 teams in the NHL.
I can't wait for 5:00. Oilers all the way. Look, what a comeback!
It's incredible, unprecedented. I'm going Oilers too.
Yeah. If they win tonight, what a fuck you.
So like you don't mind like okay like I don't know if there's like Maple Leafs and Oilers are like a huge. I don't know if it's like a huge rivalry there, but
well, here's the thing. I'm a light hockey user. I spend most of the time worrying about the music business, but because the Golden Knights thing turned into such a huge hype here in Vegas, it kind of re-stimulated my whole love for hockey. I used to play hockey. I was right wing.
Oh, sweet. Wow.
If you're born in Canada, it's kind of mandatory.
True.
So I played hockey for years and loved it. So I still sort of follow it lightly, and certainly the Golden Knights winning the cup last year, but they're out. So I always go, well, who am I going to vote for? Who am I going to root for? And it's got to be the Canadians,
Perfect. By the time this airs, we will either have the Oilers with an epic comeback of epic proportions, or the Panthers. Whatever. Question 2, what is the first album that you remember purchasing with your own money?
Well, I could lie. I could fib, but the first album I bought was Sean Cassidy, Born Late.
Thank you for sticking with that. You could have said like Rainbows, like Rainbow Rising or something, and really like made an impact, but that's real.
Look, I was very young. I don't want to go into how young, but I was very young and didn't know anything about music, period. I think the only other record that was in our house was the Grease soundtrack that my sister had. And so we went to the record store and, my dad was like, you both can pick out one album each, and I was like, well, I don't know. And at that time, that Sean Cassidy was massive. So his albums were splattered all up and down the store on the end caps. So I was like, well, let's check this one out. I know, let's check it out. And it was, probably $3 or something at the time.
That's good. That's real. And
can I follow up by saying though, that my next 2 or 3 records were Kiss.
Okay.
My next door neighbor, Dean Kruger, his was buying these Kiss records. He was older than I was, and his mother saw the records and said, "Those have to go in the garbage right now." So he goes, "Ah, man." So he runs out the house with his Kiss records, brings my doorbell and says, "Take these. I'll explain later."
And you're like, well, my life just changed. This is very similar to me and my uncle. That's a very
Right.
similar story. Was
"Take
it,
these.
what was
I'll
it? You know,
explain."
was
Right.
it
So I
like,
got Sean Cassidy in Alive 2 or whatever. And I'm like,
was that what it
"Okay,
was? Alive
forget
2?
Sean Cassidy."
Just the pictures on the sleeve of Alive 2 alone, like there's that close up of Gene, like with the blood. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like these little square pictures all over it. Like it's kind of different than some of the other ones. So
Right.
that's rad. So kind of keeping with that, this may be a chance for redemption, or maybe Sean Cassidy also is the answer for this. Your first concert.
First concert was Rush Signals tour at Maple Leaf Gardens, Toronto.
Man, that's a great one. Was that your go-to venue, Maple Leaf Gardens, that we saw a lot of the big ones?
Yeah, it was the downtown Toronto arena. I think it's gone now, but
Yes,
that
it
was my
is.
very first concert. My dad took me, I think the tickets were $8. I still have the stub somewhere. $8. The opening band was the Payolas, which featured Bob Rock on guitar at the time.
That is deep cut. That's a deep cut right there.
Yep.
We
And that
know
was the
Bob
first
Rock
time
from.
I ever smelled secondhand marijuana smoke. My dad's like, "Don't inhale."
You're like, I don't know what's going on here. Don't know if I like it. Okay,
Yeah.
last one, and we got it because I kind of always like to wrap it up. Coming back to the new album, which is Dark Side of the Brain. It's out July 19th. What song? This is hard. This is not really even fair to ask. But what song? One song that off the album that you're most looking forward to playing live?
Well, we might be playing it live already. We open up with a song called "It's Okay to Be Angry." And it's a burner, and it also opens the record, so it sort of serves both purposes. And the title came from a self-help book I was reading at the time. It was like chapter 4, "It's Okay to Be Angry." Yeah, like, all right.
I'm picturing like Tony Robbins saying that to a crowd of people or something like
Right.
it's
Well, the narrative is that you can harness that energy and then redirect it somewhere positive. That's what the basis of the chapter was. But
I
I just
love
thought that
that.
was funny.
Jason, this has just been a blast, man. The new album is great. The new stuff is awesome. I'm going to come out somewhere because you guys, I don't think are hitting Kansas City on this leg, but I think somewhere in Kansas, like Park City, Kansas. So I'm going to come out and see for sure the Godsmack tour with you guys here or there, or like Arkansas, one of the two. And can't wait to connect with you, man, because I'm a true believer in this band, this effort, this album. You're definitely going to be setting the world on fire with this one. July 19th, we're less than a month away here. So best of luck going forward. And thank you so much for the time, man. It's been a blast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. And if you do come out to the show, make sure you let me know so I can grab you and, say hello.
Yeah, we'll do it. I will definitely do it. Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate it, man.
Okay. Bye.
You bet.